Hey there, I want to talk to you today about three principles of evidence based marketing. Evidence based, data driven, not mushy blob marketing. Okay. What is what is this about? What is this like? Why even do it? Well, I want to take you all the way back to the early 1900s. Claude Hopkins was a genius advertiser and I think they call him the father of modern advertising. He's got this book out. I've read it a couple times. You should totally read it too. It's called Scientific Advertising. And as far as I'm aware, it's really the first book to sort of lay out these principles of what we would look at now as being a sort of direct response marketing. And the idea is that for every dollar we spend on marketing that goes out, and I got this way of thinking about it from Dan Kennedy, but it's just super easy to remember. Every dollar that we spend on marketing, we're looking to make 220 or $200 back from it. Okay. And for every dollar that goes out, we want to see a return on that investment as quickly as possible. And we want that return to be as big as lucrative, frankly, as possible. So when we're thinking about marketing, so many people think in terms of just putting stuff out into the world, lathering up a couple hundred billboards or whatever. Of course, that's big time marketing because those things are expensive, right? But lathering up billboards and putting out television ads and maybe even Facebook ads or Google ads out into the ether, but with no real intent on tracking them or really no ability to track them back to actual revenue that has been made as a result of the effort, as a result of the campaign. So that return on campaign is very, very important. And so today, I want to give you three principles of this sort of evidence based marketing, how to think about this, and some things that must be done in order for this to work. Okay. So, principle number one is thou shalt deploy. Thou shalt deploy. What do I mean by this? Okay. Well, you need to deploy. You need to ship. Okay. Um, no, okay, you're not gonna make any money unless you put something out there. And what you put out there, it's not gonna be perfect. There's no way. It can't be because until you put it out there, you really don't have all the information that you need. Now, this is a principle that um I've heard Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen talk about a lot in different contexts. And if you don't know, they are the owners and they are the owners of the company Basecamp, and of course the creators of the product called Basecamp. And what's fascinating is they are very, I guess you'd say, countercultural in many of their business thoughts and teachings, but this is certainly one. Um, they take a different tack on the whole idea of a minimum viable product. What they would say you need is a minimum functional product. Okay. And so the idea being that until people start using it, you can guess what the flaws are. You can guess what the inefficiencies are and what things you might have to work around, but you don't really know. And you really, really don't know until somebody is invested and they've paid money for it, right? So the point is, how quickly can you get a product working and out to the market so that you can test whether or not it is going to work? Now, in my own example, I had a wild hair. So let me back up a little bit. I am in my endeavors, I am known as the subscription guy when it comes to website design services. Okay. I was one of the very first to implement a system like this where I don't charge extravagant, upfront fees or whatever to do website design work or even marketing work. Instead, I like to work on a subscription model, a membership model, even I have called it in the past. And the idea is that, yeah, you charge monthly for services and hopefully retain customers for longer. And that has worked well for me. I've been able to create some fantastic relationships over the years with my customers. I love each and every one of them. Working with them has been such a pleasure, such a joy. And it's cool because I don't like do the work, and then they're gone, and then I don't hear from them again for months. No, I mean, I get to actually work with them regularly. Now, some of them I don't hear from very often, but there's occasional emails back and forth, and the point is that we still have that relationship that is there and that has been built and is still building over time. And I have been asked, due to some of my thoughts on this and frankly, some of my success with this, I have been asked um, about mentorship and about, well, would you be willing to show me how to do this in my business? Or do you have any documents or contracts or things that can help me? And so I've put this off and put this off and put this off, and finally, I did. I finally made something. So if you go to subscriptionwebdesign.com, you can get opted in over there, see all about the subscription model, and if this is something you're interested in, how to make a living doing website design on the side using the subscription model, or even full time using the subscription model, I would love to be your personal mentor. I made the program really, really affordable, especially for this early beta group. And so I think it's going to be really useful and really valuable to a lot of people. But I built it in a weekend. Okay, the actual site, I literally built it in a weekend, because I had a wild hair and I needed to get it out there. And, you know, I've asked some different people for thoughts and feedback already. And, some things have come in. And yeah, there's some things I'm going to try, some things I'm going to iterate on. But my point is, I want paying customers to work with me for a time. And before I can make too many changes to it, because I don't know what's working, what's not, what the real questions are, what the real challenges are, until I work with them. So it's like I've had somebody ask me, "Are you going to create a course?" And the answer is, I don't know. I hadn't really considered that because I don't, other than my own experience, I don't know what the questions are. Right? I don't know really what people are struggling with. So before I ever consider creating a course, I'd really like to work with people for a little while and determine whether or not that is something that would even help them, or if every business is just so different in that regard that they do need that personal mentorship. And maybe in the future, it's some combination of the two. Maybe they come in for a course and then we have the membership to support them later in their endeavors. Maybe we do something like that. Okay. But for now, what I want is right. I put something out there that people could pay for and that was complete, even if a smaller package than what will be available in the future, because of number one, right? Thou shalt deploy. It's got to get out there in order to know whether or not it has a long-term chance of success. Okay, the second one is thou shalt measure. Thou shalt measure. It is so important. There's a book out there called Measure What Matters. There are many metrics and things that you can get caught up in that are actually not the right ones. Okay. There are some important numbers, and then there are some less important numbers, and then there's some entirely unimportant numbers when it comes to online marketing. Okay. Unimportant number example is your like count. Okay. Less important number example is how many email opens. By the way, that's not even a reliable number anymore because so many emails are rightfully blocking spy trackers. Okay. The most important kind of numbers are, what is my cost to acquire a customer? And what is the average order value? Right? Because then you know what your profit is right there. If it costs you $10 to acquire a customer, but your average order value is 15, then you're making $5 per customer. That sounds like profit to me. Okay. Right. So that's wonderful. Okay. Anytime you can give a dollar and make back another one, that's fantastic. Or make back two, right? So give $1, make back two, etc. You get the idea. So we must be able to measure these things, and we must be measuring the right things. So if you have any sort of system that is not allowing you to measure, or you're just not paying attention to those measurements, then you're not going to sustain this for very long because you're going to burn out. You're not going to know what's working, and you're not going to really have that fire to continue. And you may not even have the financial ability to continue, because if you don't measure, then you don't know what is broken. All right. So thou shalt deploy. Get something out there that is a finished product. Even if it's a more minimal product, it must be finished. Okay, then thou shalt measure. Right? You've got to measure what you're doing. It's very, very important, or else you will never know success. And then last and finally is thou shalt iterate. Okay. Thou shalt iterate. The first time you put something out there, almost certainly it will not work. Almost certainly the sales campaign for whatever you're doing will not work. And this is why you must measure, because if you're not measuring, then you don't know what knobs to turn, what buttons to adjust. And you can't expect to put something out there the first time, it work, and then just turn it off, turn the ads off, take the landing page down or whatever, because it's not working. That is giving up too soon. You must iterate. Now, is there a time to finally give up on it if it's never working? I would say, yeah. If you've diligently deployed, measured, and iterated on something for a year or two, and it's not working, then stop. But it may take you a few times to figure out how to sell it. It may take you a few different combinations of types of ads, to figure out what gets those click-throughs to the landing page. It might take adjusting the headline or, adjusting a color somewhere on the text or whatever to increase those conversions, right? That's the game. And it can't happen without iteration. So once you get something that's working, you now have a control. Okay. That's the point. This is very scientific. So until you have something that's working, you don't have a control. Get something that works first. That's goal number one. Then you have what's called a control. That control is a working state of the way things are. Okay. You've got that. Now what you do is you grab a test subject over here and you test something one thing at a time, a headline or a landing page or whatever. Now, one way to be practical that I've heard about doing this is maybe the first time you test big picture. You test one style of page versus a completely different style of page first. Whichever one of those is working then becomes the control. And then within that control, for a landing page example, you could actually go in and start tweaking things like colors, text placement, text size, the actual words being different. That's the main thing probably that you should test. And so you have to iterate constantly. It's a constant game of paying attention to it, figuring out what is working, what is not working, and how can this be adjusted to give yourself a raise today. That's the point. All right. So thou shalt deploy, thou shalt measure, and thou shalt iterate. Those are the three principles of evidence-based marketing and data-driven marketing. And I would encourage you to apply them to your business today. All right. God bless. It's been exciting for me on this episode. I love this is a topic I'm passionate about. So super excited to share it with you. Hey, drop a review if you would into iTunes or Spotify or just wherever you're listening to this podcast. If this is something that you are getting value from, I would love to have you review so that other people know that this is a podcast that they can trust to get good information about marketing. All right. And check out subscriptionwebdesign.com. If you just happen to be a listener in that place of, hey, I think it would be cool to have a website business that was focused on the subscription model, I would love to help you get that set up. Inside of the membership community, you are going to, well, it's not really a community yet, but there are going to be some mentorship calls. The foundation of the group right now is mentorship calls between me and you in a group setting. And then all of the documents, the marketing and business documents that I have used to grow my business to a six-figure subscription web design and marketing company. If you're interested in that, subscriptionwebdesign.com is where you can get all the details and get signed up for that. God bless. Take care. We'll see you in the next episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us.